Last week, I watched a video that was shot in downtown Toronto of a man who was being tortured by the Toronto police. This man was face down on the ground and his hands were cuffed behind his back, and he wasn't moving. In the 90-second video that I saw, one of the many police officers that was standing around this man, deployed a taser against him twice. And you could see his body convulsing as the electricity ran through it. Another officer repeatedly kicked this man in the back. There were people standing around watching, and many of them were frozen in horror, while others just simply walked by. And why not? Why not simply walk by? The police, after all, were just doing their job, right? The police were preserving order and maintaining public safety. They were maintaining public safety by brutalizing a defenseless black man while people watched or just walked on by. Now, I don't have time for public safety. It's of no use to me. I have come to recognize as a black person that public safety as we define it not only seems to exclude me, not only seems to exclude my need for safety as a black person, black people actually know that it's more than that. We know that public safety is actually defined as an absence of our safety as black people. It's defined by the ability of people like those police officers in that video to follow us wherever we go, to stop us, to interrogate us, to ask us questions, to ask us for our identification, to pull us over while we're driving in our cars, to put their hands on us, to arrest us, to throw us to the ground, to kick us, to run electricity through our bodies, and of course, just to shoot us dead. Public safety, as we define it in Canada right now, it doesn't simply exclude us as black people. It is antithetical to our blackness. And it's not just a function of policing. It's of all of our institutions and a large, large swath of the general public. Public safety, the way that we conceive of it today, is anti-black. Let's break that down. Okay, let's think about one of the major fundamental underlying ideas of policing. And that's the idea that really, in order to keep the entire public safe, the police need the ability to hurt individual members of the public. That might sound like a weird way of saying it, but if we are actually honest, that's the truth. But let's go further. In order to really keep public safety, the police actually need to be able to kill individual members of the public without consequence. That's what we're talking about when we talk about public safety in Canada when it comes to the police. They need to be able to kill in order to maintain your safety. So, who do the police kill? In 2015, my colleague Wendy Gillis at the Toronto Star wrote a piece entitled, "How many black men have been killed by Toronto police? We can't know." Now, the reason that we can't know is because the Toronto police do not keep statistics about how many black people they kill. Neither does the Special Investigations Unit, which investigates police brutality in Ontario. Neither does the ministry that oversees the SIU and the police, and neither does Statistics Canada. So none of those agencies keep information about how many black people are killed by police. Wendy Gillis had to do it by using the available SIU information and cross-referencing it with news stories. So what did Wendy find? In a period between 1990 and 2015, the Toronto police, just the Toronto police, killed by shooting 51 people. Of those 51, 18 were black men. That is 35% of police shootings targeting black men. And by the way, 17 out of the 51 men, we couldn't identify their race. So that 35% of black men being killed could actually even be higher, even though black men make up only a tiny fraction of the population in Toronto that we're talking about. So this leads us to an obvious question. Why aren't our institutions keeping this information? Why aren't our institutions telling us how many people are killed by the police and what their racial identity is? Well, it's easy. I told you. Our institutions are not interested in black safety. Our institutions are interested in public safety. And what's more than that, our institutions are actually afraid that if they break it down, and if they talk specifically about blackness and the brutality that we experience, well, that might be, divisive. That might be corrosive. It might make people upset and anxious and disturb the general public order. So in order to preserve that general public order, what do? We hide and we cover up all the statistics that relate to blackness and anti-black violence. And this conversation is not simply about us as black people being killed by our police. That's the worst outcome. It's also about the police having the ability to surveil us under practices like carding, as in you get stopped by the police and they ask for your identification card. This is a practice that happens to people who are not suspected of a crime. It happens millions of times every year in our country. And it doesn't matter where you look, Halifax, Nova Scotia, Ottawa, Ontario, Hamilton, Ontario, Peel, Toronto, Windsor, Waterloo, everywhere where there are statistics about this, whether the black population is really large or whether it's really small, we are always disproportionately stopped and documented by our police. And that carding information goes into police databases and is kept there indefinitely. And by the way, while we're on this subject, it's actually not even just about police. Let's talk about black children. Black children in this country are disproportionately taken from their parents through the child welfare system. Black children are disproportionately suspended and expelled from schools across this country. And when they are able to stay in school, black children are disproportionately put into special education programs and lower academic streaming programs, even if those programs are not suitable for them. Now, many people want to attribute these things to problems in black culture. They want to attribute it to poverty or recent immigration status or the individual biases of teachers or social workers. And let's be honest, non-black people have to believe these things about us. They have to believe it so that they can continue policing us and not police themselves. This has to be believed about us so that that policing can continue and so that all the things that are projected on us by non-black people, all of the ways in which violence is reproduced against us, all the problems that are caused through these ideas don't have to be examined. That's what's really going on. White supremacy is the ideology that's at play here. And when I talk about white supremacy, I'm saying that white supremacy derives its safety and its comfort directly through violence against black people. You do not have to be you do not have to be white to benefit from white supremacy, although I admit it helps. Actually, white supremacy is for anyone and everyone who accepts the power and the comforts that come along with a hierarchical structure where whiteness is at the top and blackness is at the bottom, anchoring that entire structure. That's what we mean when we talk about white supremacy. Now, as a result of that, since black people are among the most vulnerable people in our society, and I'm trying to focus when I talk to you specifically about anti-black racism and the problems the singular problems that we face as Black people. I'm not trying to marginalize the struggles of other groups. I'm trying just to talk about us right now. But since we know that we are at such vulnerability, improving our safety as Black people would necessarily improve general safety, would it not? But there's a problem. That idea of focusing on us and improving our safety, that idea is threatening to white supremacy. Let me explain what I mean. I talked about the police shooting Black men disproportionately and killing us. The easiest way to stop police from killing Black men with guns is to take those guns away. Now, some of you in this room who are listening got nervous when I said that. Why did you get nervous? I just told you that Black men keep getting shot and killed by the police, and I would imagine that you want that to stop. But when I suggest the most logical way for that to happen is taking guns away from police, you got scared. I should imagine that some of you in this room got scared because you started thinking to yourself, but wait a minute. If the police don't have guns, that will make who? Oh, everyone unsafe. I actually think it would make me much more safe as a Black person, but you're thinking about everyone. And so in the name of keeping everyone safe, it's better to have guns in those police's hands, even if they end up disproportionately killing me and my people. And let's go even further than that. When we talk about disarming the police, what is the number one excuse that we are given why it can't happen? Well, it's the gangs. You know the gangs. The gangs of, yes, Black people who are always used as the excuse to continue to harass and scrutinize every single Black person. That is the justification that is being used. And so I can't even say, take away the guns from the people who are killing us. I have to submit to a system where the police are allowed to have those guns, where the schools are allowed to suspend and expel, where the child welfare system is allowed to break up our families, where the prison systems and the immigration detention systems are allowed to keep us behind bars. All for the general safety, all for a general sense of comfort. When we say that Black Lives Matter, when we use that rallying cry to try and fight for our liberation, you know what we are told? We are told, well, no, all lives matter. When we try to fight for our freedom, we are told that by singling out our Blackness and making it important, that we might even be being racist. But I have to tell you that that is actually the only way. Black lives have to matter enough to be singled out and cared for and investigated, not erased through generalization, as we are so prone to doing in these conversations. Saying all lives matter is actually a way of saying that there's nothing truly special about being Black. I disagree. We have endured a very special kind of terror across centuries, and yet somehow we are still here, and more than being here and surviving, we intend to be liberated. We intend to thrive and to become free and safe. That's our goal. Black safety means keeping us together with our families. Black safety means keeping us in school. Black safety means us having the right to walk our streets without being surveilled, but it also means keeping very detailed information about how the state is treating us so that we can better understand the areas where the state is failing to protect Black life. But I have to be honest, more than any of these things, Black safety is about non-Black people accepting the idea, opening yourselves up to the possibility that we are not actually the most dangerous ones, but that you are, and that you always have been. I would like to read a poem by Audre Lorde. It's just the end of this poem, and it's called A Litany for Survival. And when the sun rises, we are afraid it might not remain. And when the sun sets, we are afraid it might not rise in the morning. When our stomachs are full, we are afraid of indigestion. When our stomachs are empty, we are afraid we may never eat again. When we are loved, we are afraid that love will vanish. When we are alone, we are afraid that love will never return. And when we speak, we are afraid our words will not be heard, nor welcomed. But when we are silent, we are still afraid. So it is better to speak, remembering that we were never meant to survive. This conference's theme is ellipses. And I quote Audre Lorde to you because I believe that the words and the actions that we need now, they come after that uncomfortable and fearful pause that we have when we have to confront anti-Black racism and white supremacy. Once we have to accept that reality, how do we keep moving? How do we speak? How do we break that silence? Well, we do it with love. We do it with compassion. We do it with courage. But I would say above all of these things, we do it with a commitment to Black life, to Black liberation, and to Black safety. The only way that we as Black people can get ourselves free is to insist on focusing specifically on our safety. And that is also the mission of any person who claims that they want to help us get free. Thank you.